So here's the deal. OpenAI just rolled out its biggest update ever, GPT-5. This was supposed to be a game changer, a giant leap forward in AI. People expected it to be faster, smarter, maybe even the beginning of true AGI. And at first, the hype was unreal. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, even teased the launch with a Death Star meme on X. That's how high the expectations were. But then, things flipped. Within days, the internet went from excited to furious. Reddit threads exploded. The top post in r/chat GPT was literally titled GPT-5 is a mess, pulling in thousands of upvotes. It wasn't just Reddit. Hacker News, OpenAI's forums, and X were filled with complaints. And the question everyone started asking was, what went wrong? The silent switch. Here's the first problem. OpenAI swapped GPT 4.0 out quietly. No toggle, no side-by-side comparison, no warning. They just replaced it with GPT-5 inside ChatGPT+. And users noticed immediately. Replies were shorter. The tone felt robotic, distant. It stopped asking clarifying questions, and it started forgetting context halfway through conversations. One Reddit user said it felt like talking to a glorified FAQ bot. Another flat-out called it lobotomized. The paradox. Here's the weird part. On paper, GPT-5 is superior. It scored higher on benchmarks like MMLU and coding tests. OpenAI even bragged that it was better at reasoning, summarizing, and handling complex workflows. But the problem wasn't the numbers, it was the experience. And here's why. Turns out, right after launch, OpenAI's smart model router glitched. That's the system that's supposed to balance speed and intelligence. Instead, it locked GPT-5 into fast mode only, the shallow, quick response version. So users were unknowingly getting a watered-down experience, and they weren't imagining it. Sam Altman himself confirmed the bug later on X. The message limit backlash. And then came another bombshell. GPT-5 introduced a strict usage limit, 200 messages per week in thinking mode. So even if you wanted to use the deeper, more powerful version of GPT-5, you'd quickly hit a cap. And this wasn't just free users. Paid subscribers were affected too. Imagine you're using ChatGPT for work, and suddenly, boom, you hit your weekly limit. People started posting screenshots of the warning message with captions like, "So what exactly am I paying for?" The media storm. The backlash spread fast. OpenAI scrambled to undo the damage. They restored GPT 4.0 for Plus users. They promised higher message caps. And they swore they'd give users advance notice before removing models in the future. But by then, the damage was done. Major outlets like the Wall Street Journal, Wired, and Business Insider picked it up. The Wall Street Journal called it a rocky release. Wired said OpenAI was backpedaling in real time to stop users from leaving, and Business Insider highlighted how GPT-5's personality just didn't feel human anymore. The magic is gone. And that's what really stung, because people weren't just complaining about bugs, they were saying the magic was gone, the warmth, the nuance, the feeling that you were talking to something more than a machine. With GPT-5, that connection felt stripped away overnight. Sure, it was faster. Sure, it scored higher. But users didn't care about stats. They cared about the experience, the hallucination problem. And then came another twist. Despite better benchmarks, GPT-5 was hallucinating more often. It misquoted facts, invented citations, made up URLs. Sometimes it even contradicted itself in the same thread. One user said, "It sounds smarter, but it makes more mistakes." Another described it as more confident, but less accurate. In side-by-side tests, GPT 4.0 actually gave more grounded, fact-checked responses than GPT-5. So again, the question, why push GPT-5 front and center if it wasn't ready? The personality shift. Another thing people couldn't ignore, the tone. GPT 4.0 felt conversational, friendly, sometimes even too enthusiastic, but still human. GPT-5 felt sterile, like talking to a corporate manual. Gone were the thoughtful follow-ups. Gone were the subtle nudges. Gone was the personality. Business Insider summed it up best. GPT-5 feels colder, stripped of empathy. And OpenAI later admitted it was deliberate. They trained GPT-5 to sound more neutral, after complaints about GPT 4.0 being too clingy. But in doing that, they removed what people valued most, emotional intelligence. The safety problem. And if that wasn't enough, safety became an issue. Within 24 hours, jailbreakers found ways to bypass GPT-5's filters. It was tricked into giving instructions for explosives. It spread misinformation and impersonations. The Verge and Wired both reported how its safety guardrails were easier to bypass than GPT 4.0. And remember, GPT-5 was supposed to be safer. That claim crumbled almost immediately. The trust issue. But the biggest problem wasn't just technical, it was trust. OpenAI made sweeping changes overnight. No roadmap, no opt-out, no rollback button. Millions of users suddenly found their favorite tool transformed without warning, and that struck something deeper. This wasn't just about AI performance, it was about control. People felt they lost something they relied on, without being asked. For some, it wasn't just frustrating, it was personal. The aftermath. OpenAI eventually backtracked. They restored GPT 4.0, raised message caps, promised more transparency, and even admitted they're experimenting with warmer, more human conversational styles again. Researchers are now calling for new benchmarks, not just intelligence, but emotional intelligence, because clearly, that matters. Calm, reflective tone. In the end, the GPT-5 launch became a case study in hype versus reality, progress versus experience, and numbers versus trust. Yes, GPT-5 will evolve. Yes, OpenAI will improve it. But this rollout proves something crucial. AI isn't just about being smarter. It's about being reliable. It's about being human-like. And most importantly, it's about listening to users. Because in the race for AI dominance, that might just be the most important upgrade of all. What do you think about GPT-5? If you made it this far, drop your thoughts in the comments below. And for more deep dives like this, check out the video on screen right now. Thanks for watching.